People were still trying to blaze with the fire. And right now the fire started down here, it started at the primary school, Our Lady of Mary, which is there. Then the fire panned back to primary school. So far, no casualties have been reported and no injuries have not been reported yet. With me, I have two traders who are here. Hello, sir. Could you kindly explain to me your name?
I'm Patrick Ochieng Onyango. I'm a trader at Toy Market.
Yes, and how did the fire start?
I don't know the source, but it started around there. But I don't know the source of the fire.
Yeah. Is this the first time that the fire started?
Now it's the second time now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any casualties? Have you heard anything?
I've not yet heard, but if they are there, we'll know later on.
Okay, what did you have a business here?
Yes, I'm a businessman here. I do work there. This is my business. I've been here for a long period.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also have another trader with me. Yes, good morning. Tell us your name first.
Ronald Luchien.
Ronald Luchien, okay. So what business did you have here?
Now so mena.
You sell omena?
Yeah.
Which specific place did you sell omena?
Apa.
Apa.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next after this loss and after the fire?
Next?
What's next after the fire?
What's aje?
What next do you plan to do with the business now that the fire has consumed?
Sisi tunatarajia tuone kama tunaweza saidiwa na serikali, kama kuna usaidizi tuone vile tunaweza jenga juu hatuna otherwise mali imechomeka, tulichukua loan na tujalipa loan, sasa tujui vile tutaanza.
So Zainab, so far this is what we have recovered. The firefighters have tried toning down the fire. Traders are still here trying to recollect the little that they can get from the fire, and we'll be bringing you more details as we go on.
All right, Helen, there within the toy market, we understand a huge fire has razed down a section of the market in Kibera in Nairobi. Witnesses are telling us that the flames broke out at around 3 a.m., that is today morning, and by 6 a.m. that reduced to ashes property worth millions of shillings. We also understand that the shanties surrounding that market have also been razed down by the fire. We'll be linking up with Helen later on in the bulletin just to give us as well an update on what the situation is. But at this point, let's now link up with Martin Moro, is in Muranga County. Martin, what is happening in Muranga?
Yes, good morning, Zainab. As you have rightly said, it's a bright Tuesday morning from Muranga County. I just want to tell you maybe what is happening, as you have said. First, there has been issues of cattle theft in Muranga. I think it is because of the slaughtering. So police and residents are raising issues on the issue of cattle theft. Like over the weekend, 3 cows went missing, only for them to be found slaughtered. And police are saying that they're investigating to know who are behind these crimes, which are soaring and bringing a lot of losses to farmers. I think the main reason for the theft of these livestock is for meat, which are later sold. And some of these meats are very, very risky because most of them are not stamped by or checked by the veterinary department. So the police are asking people to be very keen when purchasing meat, to ensure that the meat has what we call the stamp from the livestock department. Something else that is happening on this county is that there's been a lot of complaint at the lands registry, at the lands office. We only have one land registrar in Muranga who is actually said to be overwhelmed. And so many people have been complaining that their land issues have not been sorted. They have always been coming here for months now, and they have not been getting the kind of help that they need. So they're asking if the government can intervene and send another registrar or somebody who can help, just to ease the burden, because they're saying there's a lot of backlog at the lands office. And it's actually affecting some of the transactions, like transfer of land, and it's actually a tall order. And some are saying that they cannot even develop their land because the process has not been completed. Something else that I want to bring to your attention that is happening in Muranga is Muranga County government yesterday, actually today, has increased what we call the parking fee. It was 50 shillings, but today taxi drivers, private car owners in Muranga have walked into a road shop to find that it is now being charged at 70 shillings. It's something that has brought a lot of back and forth. It has brought a lot of heat in Muranga, where people are saying that they were never told, they never anticipated. They're saying the economy is not so good just for somebody to wake up and increase parking fee by 20 shillings. So they're asking the county government if it can revert back to 50 shillings until they discuss and agree on the way forward, because they're saying there was no public participation. They only just woke up to be told that it's no longer 50 shillings but 70 shillings. Zainab, I'll be coming back to you on our topic for today, but that is what generally is what is happening in Muranga County today. Back to you.
All right, Martin Mora there from Muranga giving us an update from that region. We'll be linking up with him later on as well to give us more updates from that county. But at this point, let's now link up with my colleague Lois Wangui, who is in our Aldret studios with a conversation that most probably, or actually we'll be having as well here within our Nairobi studios. Lois, what do you have for us?
Many thanks and good morning. Zainab Ismail from the county of Uasin Gishu will be tying in or contributing to the conversation of the day, that is domestic violence. Already with me in studio is a three-panel guest, Joseph Mugo, who is a psychologist, Immaculate Chepkonga is a counseling psychologist, and Miss Lily Okengo is a mental health advocate. Remember, recently we have seen an increase in the cases of domestic violence cases here in the country, and we will be digging deeper into that conversation to try and understand the trends and the contributions towards the same. The discussion on domestic violence is not a new one. It is a conversation that cuts across the socio-cultural settings here in the country, and it will be interesting to listen to my panel this very morning to try and understand what informs, what contributes, and how is society in general, men and women, handling the situation. We'll also be looking into the government policy on the same, their structures, and that are working effectively to ensure that the country is able to manage or to eradicate domestic violence. Recently here in the county of Uasin Gishu, we did witness a bizarre incident, and just to name one that happened a few days ago, where we did see a police officer from Soy constituency just shooting his wife 7 times in the head, and she did lose her life. Those are just a number of cases that we've been able to witness here. About a month ago, I think 3 weeks to a month ago, we did witness another gentleman who beat up his wife, and after killing her, he sort of cut her body parts and disposed them, and it was in that process of just trying to dispose the body where authorities caught up with him. Those are just 2 examples to illustrate that even here in the North Rift, we are witnessing bizarre cases of domestic violence, and gone are the days where we would describe domestic violence as say emotional abuse or a slap or 2, and recently we have seen them even lead to deaths within the marriage setup and even relations setup. So we'll be looking into that with my panel this very morning. Also, my colleague Gabriel Kudaka is standing by in the streets of Eldoret, speaking to Wananchi on the ground to try and understand their views and thoughts on the same, and we'll be coming back to you with that much later in this bulletin. Back to you, Zainab.
All right, Lois, and quite troubling statistics. They will be having that conversation here in studio as well in just a bit. But before that, aviation authorities remain at the site of an Ethiopian Airlines plane that crashed southeast of the Addis Ababa, killing all 157 people on board. Investigators are preparing to start retrieving information from the black boxes recovered from the doomed flight, and that could provide crucial clues into the cause of the crash. In the meantime, the Kenyan government has sent out top air crash investigators to assist in the probe. NTV's Kennedy Muranga has the update.
For the second day straight, air crash investigators have been scouring through the wreckage for any clues or insights into the crash that happened 6 minutes after the plane took off from Bole International Airport. Today, they recovered the plane's black boxes that would unravel the cause of the crash. The only available data has so far come from tracking websites. Investigators will also be looking into claims made by some witnesses that the plane caught fire mid-air and exploded on impact. 32 of the 157 passengers who died were Kenyans.
We shall continue making sure the welfare of the friends and families affected is given utmost attention.
The government has set up a multi-agency team that will help with investigations.
We have Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, KCAA. We have the National Disaster Management Unit, which is domiciled in the Ministry of Interior. We have the Kenya Airports Authority. We have the Port Health. We have the Air Accident Investigation, which is in the Ministry of Transport. We have Ethiopian Airlines. We also have Kenya Airways because of the various issues which interface in our sector.
Already, another team led by Permanent Secretary Esther Koimet is in Ethiopia coordinating the relaying of information to families that lost their loved ones. Another team from Kenya will join the investigators retrieving data from the black boxes.
We shall be sending the director of air accident investigation, Captain Runani, to be part of that team to make sure that they provide support as much as possible.
The government contends that investigations of this nature are complex and must not be rushed, as all parties, including the countries involved, have come in and trying to help investigations go on. Right now, the CS agrees that one of the most important questions on most Kenyans is why and how it happened. Kennedy Muranga, NTV at the JKIA in Nairobi.
Ahmed Khalid was booked on the doomed Ethiopian Airlines plane that crashed, but lucky for him, he was 50 minutes late. His flight from Dubai had been delayed and thus he missed the connecting flight to Nairobi. He shares with NTV's Seth Olale his relief for getting a second chance and his pain for those who, unlike him, will never see their families again.
A soul-stirring reunion for a father and son. Still fuzzed by last morning events that would have hurled a father into mourning. Their relief is, however, so clear. 29-year-old Ahmed Khalid was traveling from Dubai to Nairobi via Addis Ababa to spend a month-long leave with his family after being away for a year and 3 months. His flight from Dubai was, however, delayed by about 50 minutes. He thus missed the connecting flight from Addis, the doomed Ethiopian Airways flight that crashed yesterday morning.
It was only the delay. The plane did not even shake even once. Everything was smooth. But when we reached Addis Ababa, I was a little bit late. I was running for the first plane.
The delay was a huge setback for Ahmed, who had wanted to catch the first flight out to make it home in time. But it turned out to be a blessing. By the time his plane arrived at the Bole International Airport in Addis, the boarding gate had been closed and had to wait for the next available flight to Nairobi.
Because I missed the flight and I didn't have any connection, there was no internet, there was nothing. We had to stay. So my thinking was, I told Dad to come early, so he will be waiting for a long time in the airport.
I just asked somebody, a taxi driver there. He asked me, which flight? Are you coming to receive somebody? I said, yes. Which flight? I said, Ethiopia. He told me, oh my God, Ethiopia has crashed.
Mzee sasa ndo akaanza kubabaika. Ndo akaona sasa nifanye vipi, sijui nimpigie mama simu, sipigie. Lakini kwa bahati nzuri Ahmed naye akajua baba atakuwa na wasiwasi. Akampigia akamwambia, baba mimi siko kwa hiyo ndege, nitakuja kwa ndege nyingine. Ndio mzee akapata nafasi ya kunipigia mimi kunijulisha.
I was supposed to come with that plane. That's why I told you to come early. But because I couldn't make it, I don't know, God still loves me. Allah is the protector.
Even though he miraculously cheated death, Ahmed says he had already bought a ticket to return to Dubai when his leave is over with the same airline. But for now, he relishes the time he's been given to spend with his family. Sat Olale, NTV.
Luckiest man alive indeed. The family of Jaboma Isabella Chieng, one of the passengers killed in the crash, faces an agonizing wait for any news as investigators and authorities scour through the wreckage for any clues. They hope to get news about their loved ones' remains on Thursday. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports on the family's fond memories of their loved one who never made it home to them.
At Sophia Village in Homa Bay County and at the home of 31-year-old Jaboma Isabella Chieng, the atmosphere is that of solemn reflection. The heartbreaking toll of the plane crash was laid bare here, as it finally dawns on the family that Isabel, fondly known to them and her friends as Bella, will not be coming home to them. She was among the 157 people who died in the Ethiopian Airlines plane that crashed yesterday.
Her brother, eldest brother in Nairobi, was expecting her by about midday to have texted him wherever she was. But by which time she had not made any text or any information or conveyed any information about where she was.
Bella was very responsible, caring to me. And again, she was very diligent and she liked cleanliness.
Bella was a volunteer with Hope for Cancer Kids. She was in Cairo, Egypt for a one-week international conference on cancer. She died alongside two of her colleagues.
Bella was so loving to the father. You know, when you have one daughter, she was so loving to the father. Even the father had some names for her. And she was a respected lady.
The family now only left with fond memories and a huge gap that the only girl in the family of three has left by her death.
She was very useful to the mother who is sick because of her knowledge in nutrition dietetics. She has been of use to the mother in terms of maintaining her health and continuing medication.
It is so painful. We've lost Bella, a very loving daughter. And she is honest. She encouraged me. It is so sad to lose Bella.
In the meantime, it will be an agonizing wait for news of her remains. They hope to get information on Thursday. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
All right, and away from that, let's now link up with Bernard Ojwang from Migori County to give us an update from that region. Bernard, what is happening in Migori?
Well, thank you very much. We are here in Migori town. Remember, nothing much is taking place here in Migori County today, but only that Migori County government, through the Department of Water, they're currently preparing ahead of International Water Day. And what's going on in Migori town, the water connection so as to ensure that Migori County residents are enjoying. And apart from that, what's going on here, according to our topic of the day, I'll be interacting with some of the people here who have been in the forefront, in the front line in the fight against gender-based violence in Migori County. I'll also speak to some of the religious leaders here. Just tell us what's the main problem and what should be a solution. Back to you.
All right, that was Bernardo Joang from Migori County giving us an update. We'll later link up with him on all the stories making headlines from that region. But our topic today will be focusing on gender-based violence, which is one of the most persistent violations of human rights across the globe. Now, according to the World Health Organization, about a third of women worldwide have experienced violence. And scaling it down to the country, a 2016 report by the National Gender and Equality Commission indicates that 39% of women and girls aged between 15 and above have experienced the gender-based violence, with 1 in 4 women suffering the vice every year. Now, a recent study in the country also found that 32% of young women aged between 18 and 24 years and 18% of their male counterparts reported experiencing sexual violence before the age of 18. And this morning I am joined by 2 ladies, Dr. Eunice Gidai, psychologist, as well as Miriam Washira, the Deputy Executive Director, FIDA Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we've seen startling and troubling and, disturbing statistics on the rise of the number of women who are experiencing domestic violence and violence in general. So I'd like to get, your view on the same, and probably I'll begin with you, Eunice. Are we conditioned to accept violence, as a normal part of our lives as women?
That's a good question. We need kind of behavior change, and I think that most of the advocates for gender-based violence have been targeting the behavior, but really what informs behavior is very important for me as a mental health practitioner. What is that informs behavior? Because before you do it, there are some thoughts or maybe some attitudes and so on. Are we addressing this one? So for me, it's a question of behavior is not stopping because something else is informing the behavior. Yeah.
All right. Miriam, how do we begin to change that narrative of, women, because you see the statistics indicate that a lot of women are the ones who are going through this. How do we begin to change that narrative?
I think we need to start by accepting that violence is not acceptable. I think the fact that our society sees violence against women as something acceptable is where the problem starts. So we need to alter the way we are socialized, that violence solves everything. So it is how we socialize as we grow up, that violence within families, within the society is acceptable. So we need to undo that socialization.
All right. And domestic violence, for that matter, has increased unprecedentedly. And there are a lot of reports even in the media when we get, a man has killed the wife, has killed the children, and then it goes back to now, what is psychologically affecting them? And Dr. Eunice, you being a mental health expert, how do you start beginning to probably diagnose a person who might be vulnerable to committing violence against women?
What I would say, just like any other kind of crime or any other kind of negative behavior, this person, if you do a profiling for them, you'll find this is a hurt person. A hurt person hurts others, because if what I have is hurt, then that's what I'll give to the society. So if you trace this person back to probably the upbringing, the way they have grown up, or socialization or whatever, there is a lot of hurt that has happened in this person, or fear, or the negative emotions, really. And so the only thing that they know how to do is to hit back on society, because this is what I know. What has happened to me is I have been hurt, so all I know to do is to hurt others. So if you check back, an abused person abuses others, if in the growing up years I was abused, as an adult I will abuse others. And the cycle goes on. So basically we're looking at hurt people. We want them to change behavior, but we're looking at people who this set up from where they began. Something went wrong, and it was not corrected in good time, and so it continues. Again, now it is supported by other factors. It's supported by a culture that is quiet. It's very silent about violence against women. It's supported by a legal system that does not come out strongly to say we don't want this thing, or even when they say it, it is not enforced. So it gets nurtured and becomes almost like an everyday kind of thing. And you listen to some proverbs, some songs, and so on. The hero is the man, and you look at this, the traditional setup. it was done. It was not a big deal. So right now, for us to be able to change it, we need to go through a kind of mental reconstruction so that we can redefine.
So the narrative was already cultured from a long time ago.
Yes.
All
yeah,
right.
you're right.
Definitely. And we'll come back to the culture and the legal frameworks that we have in the country at this point. But Miriam, talking about, that cultural and traditional beliefs, to some extent, as Dr. Eunice says, it hinders the progress to address these issues effectively. Do you think anything has changed then compared to now?
A lot have changed, and what is amazing is how, as a country, as a society, we have embraced so many other new modern ways, but when it comes to women and things that affect women, we want to talk about culture, we want to talk about tradition. But yes, when you look right now, we are all on smartphones. We are no longer on the same phones we were on then. So how come we want to hold on this culture where we say violence against women is acceptable? So it's a matter of we are a society that is choosy on what to propagate and what to leave behind. So a lot has changed. Of course, when you look at the years back, maybe there were no laws against domestic violence. There were no laws maybe against a lot of violence. But currently now we have even laws. But the question is, why are we still having so much violence, even when we have laws? I think it's just a society that refuses to accept to move forward when it comes to violence against women.
Look, there are people who even still think that beating up a woman is a way of disciplining her. I mean, Dr. Eunice, how do you change that?
How to change that? In some cultures, if a woman is not beaten, given a small slap, so to say, by the man, she's like, the man is not man enough. And sometimes...
Or even an expression of love.
Yeah. He is recognizing me. And, sometimes we see some psychological disorders, like we call them masochistic women, who wants violence first, before she's treated nicely, like sexual and so on. But we also have... the culture that seems to favor men. But we seem also as, I'm not blaming women at all, because really it's the women who receive the blunt, It's our grandmothers who did all the work and who are also beaten up, and we really can recognize the change that has happened. But there are still some things that are deeply entrenched, There are ways that we look like recently somebody asked me, how come you don't have a daughter who helps you with housework? So I asked her, did I need to get a daughter so that I can get a worker? Exactly. You see? And you keep hearing that theme over and over. So when you get a girl child, she is to help you with the work at home. When you get the boy child, he is to be worked for, he is the king there. So I think still, as I'm saying, we need a lot of change in our mental constructions. Right. We need change in our attitudes. We need change so that from inside now, our behavior can be different.
All right, in order to reverse that narrative that is deeply ingrained in the society. And before we continue the conversation, I understand that we have Bernardo Juang back and from Migori County, and he has quite a lot from that region. Bernard?
Well, thank you very much. We are here in Migori town. Remember, it is something that has been, many people have been talking about, that is gender-based violence. Of late, we've been seeing the givers of life, that is women, we usually each and every morning, we get them being dumped, their body being dumped, lying lifeless in the bushes, some of them lying in their houses. And of course, with me here are some of the people who have been fighting, who have been in the front line in the fight against gender-based violence here in Migori. And also I have religious leaders here who will be telling us what are the efforts. And whatever we'll be talking about is we would like to know from them what's the main contributing factor to this, and what should be a solution, and when did the rain start beating us. And on this side, this is Susan Mohabe, and also Jackie Paul, and also Pastor David. They will be telling us more about this. To start with, I'll start with Susan Mohabe. Susan, it is something that has been going on, and each and every time we get our ladies lying lifeless on the streets after they have been killed in their houses. What's the main problem? What's the main contributing factor to this?
Thank you, Bernard. I would attribute this to quite a number of factors.
All right, I do apologize for that hitch there. Bernardo Jwang from Migori County. We'll link up with him later on as we get a better network from that region. But our conversation on domestic violence continues here in studio. I'm with Dr. Eunice Githai, a psychologist, and Miriam Washira, the Deputy Executive Director, FIDA Kenya. And we understand, again, we have Bernard. Let's just link up with him just to get a feel of that conversation that he's having from the county.
Well, sorry for that technical hitch. We were speaking to Susan Mohabe. Susan, you are talking there, and we've been thinking our ladies are being killed. What's the main problem?
Yes, Bernard, as I was saying, we have two categories. We have one, our girls. Most of our girls have gone through many challenges. As you know, we also have the issue of FGM, which is not talked so much about. But I believe as at now, that challenge is going down because at least people have understood. Those that decide to go for it know why they want to go for it, and those that don't know why they don't want to go for it. But when we want to talk about gender-based violence, where our ladies are battered, one, I would say that most of our male counterparts are running away from responsibilities. And our girls are suffering insecurity, which means that our men will go out. These are, and I'm talking about the young mothers. Our men will go out fearing responsibility of paying school fees, fearing responsibility of fending for the family. They leave the whole burden to the ladies. And when they come back, it's a scapegoat of wanting to make these ladies fear to come out and say, oh, you are supposed to have done this and that, and you didn't do. So our ladies are shouldering a lot of burdens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan Mohabe. You are talking about men are escaping.
All right, it appears that we'll be joining Bernardo Jwang later on because that network problem there seems quite persistent. But the conversation continues here in studio. Like I said before, we have Dr. Eunice Githai and Miriam Washira from FIDA Kenya. Well, ladies, you know, that conversation on, you know, tradition and cultural beliefs hindering, you know, addressing the issues to do with women facing violence. There's a lot of people believe that violence is just secluded or is sidelined to just being physical or you know, sexual violence. But then there was an issue that came up of emotional violence against women as well. Maybe I'll start with you, Miriam. What is this emotional violence? What does it entail, and how do we go about it?
As you mentioned, and maybe doctor will be better placed to explain it.
Yes.
Emotional violence is where you interfere or use the emotions of the lady as a form of violence, as a form of intimidation. Mostly it will involve a lot of blackmail, if you don't stop doing that, I will leave you. So there's that whole emotional bit of it, stirring the emotions of the lady or the other person to the extent that it becomes a burden to them, it hurts them, and in the end, it will have psychological issues on them.
Dr. Eunice?
Yeah, you know, some people will not slap you, but the words that they hurl at you, they hurt you very deep. You know, they go right inside, they sear your, you know, emotional well-being. So some people do verbal, and it gets very deep. Others will just give you a silence treatment. They're not talking, but it's really targeted at either weakening you, creating fear, threatening you, making you suffer, making you not concentrate on work, making you very disorganized in all manner of things. And so that's a kind of emotional war. So, and it's equally as bad. It's just as bad as physical. Physical, I'll carry the pain or the slap. I'll feel the pain, I'll carry the pain. But emotional, nobody sees it. It's right inside. You know, I'm hurting inside, I'm crying inside, I'm wounded, but no one is seeing it. And so I may end up getting depressed. It now spirals into other behavior. I may get depressed, I may think about suicide, I may also be verbally abusive to others, I may be physically abusive to others, because the inner person, you know, the emotional, myself, the emotional person needs as much wellness as the physical person. So both of them go hand in hand. I am well internally, I'm well externally. So those who hurt externally are just, I would even say probably psychologically is worse, because it can lead to physical damage. Yeah.
And with that comes that culture of silence then, and women do not want to speak out. Then how do you start opening up those avenues for women to come out and speak on such issues? If, you know, if today I woke up and I saw my neighbor with a, you know, with a mark or, you know, a slap mark on the face, I would tell, okay, this one was involved in a fight. But then comes the issue of, you know, emotional violence, and that person is going through so much, but they've kept quiet. How do we have channels for women to come out and speak on them, Doctor?
I would say yes, and I would say no. I would say yes, because in a safe environment, a woman will talk. If I meet another woman and the first thing that happened to me in the morning was being beaten up, I'm more likely to loosen up and talk to the other woman. But when it comes to going further, like seeing a psychologist, seeing the social worker, seeing the policeman and so on, women need to be assured of security. They need to be assured even when I talk, I'm not going to be beaten up, because the fear is if I talk and he gets to hear this, he'll beat me up much more, or he'll verbally abuse me much more. And so this whole thing is a systemic kind of thing, where it's not one person, it's not FIDA alone dealing with this issue. FIDA will not succeed in this battle. It is much more of a system that the policemen are involved, the social workers are involved, FIDA is involved, mothers were involved, a friend is involved. I mean, and a whole society comes in. It doesn't sound, I hope it doesn't sound so helpless, but it's possible really, because if there's something I can do, another person can do, we can all come together and the whole system works towards eradicating this vice.
All right, Miriam, does FIDA provide those avenues for women who really are going through this? In what way and how do they reach, and how do we move forward from that?
As FIDA, one of our projects is access to justice, and part of access to justice, we offer psychosocial support. We have an in-house counselor in every one of our offices, that is Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nairobi. So once a woman comes in and they have emotional trauma, they are physically abused, before they see the lawyer, we encourage them to see the counselor. So they go through the motions with the counselor. The counselor tries, helps her to stabilize. You find most of them will come, but they don't want to go to court. And so the question is, you have come to FIDA, how do you want us to help you? So most of them will come, and after the psychosocial classes, they don't want to go further with it. They don't want the legal process, which we find as a problem, because...
And why is that? What contributes to that?
I would call it the empowerment, the disempowerment of women. The fact that she's asking you, if I go to court, this is a man who provides for me, he pays rent, he pays school fees, I have nothing, I don't have a job, I am hopeless.
If I leave him, my life is ruined.
Exactly. So they will be asking me, Miriam, so if you're telling me to leave, where am I going? What else does can FIDA offer me? Of course, currently we do not have such services where we can offer you even accommodation or something like that. But now with the law, we are empowering the woman to know that you can actually leave and the man still maintains you. If it's the fear of they will hurt you further, we can get what we call now protection orders. Now we have the Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, under which victims or even threatened victims have the right now to get a protection order from the court. And that order is supposed to be enforced by the police. So there is that opportunity where the man is told, move out of the house. If the man, it's found that it's a man, or even if it's the woman who is the cause of the violence, court can order them out of the house, and they are told, but you still maintain the family. You still provide for the family. So we, as FIDA, we are working to see how can we enforce this domestic Prevention Against Domestic Act to make it alive, to make it a reality, to protect women and children.
All right. And we'll come to that in just a moment. But before we continue a conversation, I understand that, you know, you said something very interesting about women empowerment, and there was a different opinion among our society, and I'll tell you about it in just a minute. But Bernardo Juang is live from Migori County. Bernard?
Well, thank you very much. Sorry for that technical hitch. We were speaking to my panel here, that is Susan Moabe and also Jackie Paul and Pastor David, on this issue about gender-based violence. And just to the point, Jackie, you've been seeing cases whereby young girls are losing their lives, women are being killed. What do you think is the main contributing factor to this?
Thank you so much, Bernard. What I would say about this is that the main factor is the socioeconomic factors. We know the rate at which poverty level is in the increase, and I'm sure no man wants to be cited as a failure. So that is one factor. Another one is the deterioration of our norms. As Africans, the society is deteriorating in terms of their culture. What are we supposed to do as culture? What are our roles in culture? Women, men, the society as a whole, what are we doing in terms of our ethnicity? Another thing that I'm seeing is also diseases. We have also mental problems that is coming up. Recently, we've seen so much of it coming up. So I think those are the main reasons. And besides that, we also have issues to do with the rising up of technology. The world is rising up so much. We have the digital life that now most women are lost in this. Most people are lost in this, that they don't know what to pick from the social media and what not to pick. And also another factor is lack of education, lack of information, and also the lack of involving women in decision making. Like you've seen recently, the two-third gender rule was not passed. When are we going to recognize that women are the backbone of the society? We need to hear their voices. We need to know what the women are thinking in terms of society and building the nation. We need to know their views. And then in that way, we will know their decisions. We will know their facts so that we can include them and know the problems that they are going through. Otherwise, the main that I think is affecting us is the socio-economic issues. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jackie, for that contribution. I'll speak to Pastor David. Pastor, each and every time you get this, and after maybe somebody commits these cases, maybe somebody has killed, maybe a woman or the wife, they run to church at least to confess, and so that you pray for them. What do you think is the main contributing factors that you as pastors, what have you done at least to ensure these people are talked to well?
In fact, indeed, my friend, what I would want to say is this. As religious leaders, we have encountered all these things, but the main cause, that is the true fear of God, is not within us. Majorly young men and young ladies, the fear of the Lord is lacking. We have the fear of God, which is out of the mouth, but not practically being seen. And that is why many people, when they have done wrong, they come to church, but they don't have total confession. Because total confession or repentance make you to bear the fruits of repentance. And therefore, we are coming up with an institution of counseling. So at least the church, as the place of refuge, everyone who comes, we take them to the counseling board so that they can be counseled and to know the truth and to walk in the truth.
Okay, but Susan, I'm coming back to you. It is something that has been happening, and you also talk that men are escaping from their responsibility, and as many people have been saying that they are blaming mothers, that they are forgetting their duties. They don't talk to these young girls, and it is very painful. We are losing women. We are losing the mothers. Why do you think mothers? Why do you think women now?
Bernard, at times I find it so funny. When we talk about mothers not talking to their girls, do we equally talk about fathers not talking to their sons to make their sons responsible? Yeah, to some extent what you've said, I'll also agree with it. Because as I had started by saying that ladies have been left with a lot of responsibility. This is a woman who wakes up at 5. Starts by opening that cowshed, escorts the husband to the farm. When she comes from the farm, here she is looking for firewood. After firewood, she's there going to the granary to prepare food to take to the posho mill. When she comes back, she's looking for vegetables. And you know, this man left in the morning and went for good. After shamba, he went to play ile ajua. At what time do we expect this lady to sit with the children and talk to them? And number two,
in Kuria region. What do you think is the main contributing factor?
Yeah, the main contributing factor, first of all, I said about our men running away from their responsibilities. Number two, even after this person has been violated, the ladies shy away. They don't come out to talk about it. We have to look for them in their houses. Tell them, talk about it. Let the law protect you. But you can remember even the other time we were at Ombo, a lady's hands had been chopped off, and she could not accept to talk. Because of the norms we've been talking about, she knows she has the responsibility to defend the husband who violates her. But again, Bernard, I would say that we also have the responsibility to empower our ladies economically. Like getting them what they can do. Those that didn't go to school, what alternative can they have? Can they do things with their hands, skills? Can they improve their lives through making dresses, through making sweaters? Can they do other businesses? We need to empower these ladies. Thank you.
So before I leave you, what do you think is the main, what should be a solution, at least to curb these cases? Because it is alarming and it is really hurting.
A solution should be, Ben, that let the men also take responsibility of helping the girls, of helping their families, let them own up. Let them look at ladies as mothers, look at these ladies as sisters, look at these ladies as their aunties, look at these ladies as human beings, and let them take responsibility and help the ladies in taking care of families.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Susan. Jackie, you've heard from Susan saying that these ladies should be empowered so that they get something, at least to help them from these irresponsible men. You, from your point of view, what do you think should be a solution to curb these such cases of women losing their lives each and every time?
Thank you so much, Bernard. I agree with Susan. And another thing that I would say that is a solution is to give the women the information. Most of our women lack the information. They don't know their rights. For example, Bernard, a woman goes for family planning, comes back home and the legs are chopped because she doesn't know her right there. The man doesn't want her to go and get the family planning. What do we say about that? She lacks information on what she's supposed to do, on what her roles are, and what she's supposed to get as a woman. That is why I'm saying we should include women in every decision making, given that women are the majority in terms of even numbers. I come from the Lake region. We get women going, there are socioeconomic problems I talked about here. They have to toil. You have to sell your body maybe for fish. We don't see them coming back. The next day, after 2-3 days, you hear the body has been found in the bushes. And it is so common that if we really close our eyes into this, we are just getting into worse and worse and worse. Recently, we had International Women's Day. Surely, what was there for us to celebrate? Nothing. As a woman, there was nothing for us to celebrate because we have so much still pending for us as women. In terms of budget, we have NGOs, we have Tuonge that tells women, talk about it. Don't go back in your bedroom and cry there. Talk about your issues. Talk about it to your neighbors. We have church members here. Go to the church, talk about what you feel is hitting you in the house. We don't want to see any more cases of this. We don't want to see any more people dying, committing suicide. A class 7 or a class 8 is committing suicide. We also have to look at it like, what is the society doing about it? Our culture, our system, the TV, what is it? What are our roles as parents and teachers on this? What are we doing about it? So, Bernard, I think it is all about us to think and reflect on what we are supposed to do about it. And even the government, budgeting on women issues, it has been a problem. anything to do with women, pesa ni kidogo sana. We need funds. We need to be funded. We don't only need to depend on issues of NGOs, women coming together. For example, in my ward, we see many cases of this attributed to drug substance abuse. That is Kanyasa ward, that is in Nyatike. So we give them money to start other businesses like putting up fish, selling milk to the farms instead of doing changa. Because you know what these things do to our people, our men. They think now if you take this, you are going to forget about your problems to do with the school fee. You don't do family planning and all this. So I think that is the reason now we have to look at this issue in detail.
Thank you. Pastor, you've heard from them. What do you think, your last word, is the main solution?
Oh, according to the way our sisters have spoken, in fact, indeed, they have said the truth. And what I can add is that the empowerment of ladies is very important. And I would urge even other leaders concerned with the ladies to empower them. And also, I would want to tell the wananchi that killing is sin. It is wrong, and the Bible says that we should not kill. We should treat one another in love. If anything is wrong, come sit down, dialogue together, and if it is worse, run to us as pastors. We shall guide you through the Bible, which give us the right direction on how to have peace.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. You've heard from my panel here. You've heard from Susan, Jackie, and Pastor David. They are saying that these women needs to be empowered, and they are saying that unless they are not empowered, they will do back to you.
All right, Bernardo Juang there from Migori County. But before we continue with the conversation, we understand that ODM leader Raila Odinga is at the toy market where a fire has razed down a section of the market. He has just arrived there, and we'll be getting an update from our reporters on the ground. There you have it, trying to get an image of ODM leader Raila Odinga there, who's gone to visit that scene of the fire, which has razed down a section of the toy market, which is in Kibera. We understand that by 6:30 a.m. the flames were still spreading fast, and the shanties, including those in residential areas, could be seen smoldering after being reduced to ashes. There you have ODM leader Raila Odinga is about to address the residents there of a toy market, where a section of the market has been razed down by fire. The open-air market, which is famous for used clothes, fresh produce, artifacts and toys, is located on the outskirts of Kibera slums, one of the biggest informal settlements in the country and in Africa as well. Now that is an update that we're getting from you. We'll be heading back to Toy Market in just a minute, where we understand that, and you've seen that ODM leader Raila Odinga is there. He's going to address the residents there. Let's listen in to what is happening.
Baba amefika na ana haraka. Sawa sawa? Kabisa kabisa kabisa. Ngoja kwanza. Hapo tena. Poleni sana wakati wa Toi kwa yale imetokea usiku. Tunaona mzee amekuja kushuhudia. Ngoja kwanza aki utasikia anasema nini sasa. Hapa tuko na MCA wa hapa ambaye ni Mr. Mwangi, anaweza sema machache. Mwangi. Bongo baba. Okay, habari zenu? Habari zenu tena? Sisi baba tumekuwa hapa tangu saa 9 ya usiku tukizima moto. Na sisi tunasema baba, tunakuomba, tumechomekewa. Na tunaona kama hatutapata msaada sahihi, hao watu wenye wamechoma, sababu ni kuchomwa kumechomwa, wanaweza kuja hapa waanze kujenga. So tunaomba, tunaomba. Tuna stalls. Tuna stall 1984. Na kila mmoja huenda na mabati 4 kulingana na ile hesabu tulikuwa tumefanya. Kwa hivyo kama tunaweza tafutiwa mabati, tutafutiwe miti ndio tuweze kurudi kuanzia leo. Sababu hatutaki wenye wamechoma wakuje kesho waanze kufanya nini? Kujenga. Kwa hivyo baba, kwanza tukushukuru kwa kuja kuitika wito wetu. Tulikuwa tumeongea na gavana, bado tunamgoja. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. Haya, unajua hii moto ya Toi wapi nani? Catherine yako wapi?
Catherine.
ODM! 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 Sisi kama watu wa kina ambao tunatoka Toi tunasema hivi, mzee, tunaomba msaada kwa ajili hii moto si moto ya kawaida. Kuna mwenyewe wanataka kutuibia Toi. Tunaomba uongee na gavana wetu Sonko atuletee pesa ya disaster kesho tuweze kujenga shamba. Chairman wa Sonko.
Kwa mdomo.
Habari wana soko. Mimi kwanza nashukuru baba. Baba amekuja kutembelea kwa ile shida tumepata, na baba, sisi ni watoto wako. Tunashukuru kuja kwako. Hawa ni wanasoko wenzangu, na hii moto ni janga kubwa kwa hii soko. Mali yetu yote imechomeka. Hatuna mbele wala nyuma. MCA yote nje wanatusumbua sana sababu tuna title deed. Asante sana.
Haya, mjamboni wote. Mimi ni mbunge wa Mathare Anthony Oluoch. Kwanza pole zangu na nishukuru baba kwa kuja hapa leo, kwa sababu moto haijui kabila, haijui dini. Moto imekuja imeingia nyumba yenu leo. Mimi nakubaliana na wale wamesema ile msaada inawezekana kupatikana leo, mupewe leo. Nataka kusema namna hii kabla baba achukue. Hii mambo ya moto si mambo ya kawaida, kwa sababu hata Mathare tunaunguliwa usiku kucha, si ndio? Mambo ya kuunguzia watu kwa sababu labda unataka stoli yao ichunguzwe kabisa, na mimi nashukuru baba, nataka waingilie hiyo. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Sasa wacha nikaribishe. Wangapi wanakaribisha baba? Wangapi wanakaribisha baba? Karibu baba.
Haya. Wananchi wa Kibera, hamjambo? Kwanza nasema poleni sana kwa huyu mkasa. Nimeita gavana, anakuja hapa sasa hivi. Hii si mara ya kwanza marketi ya Toi kuunguliwa. hii imeugua, lakini imechoma maksudi. Mimi nimekuwa mbunge wa hapa wakati tulianzisha hii soko hapa Chaba Toi, na hii soko imesaidia watu wetu wengi zaidi kufanya biashara. Sasa lakini kuna wale wanyakuzi ambayo wananyakua, kiona kiwanja mahali wanaingia wananyakua, wakiona kiwanja popote wananyakua. Nina hakika kwamba hawa ndio wamefanya hii njama ya kuchoma, alafu kesho waje na askari hapa ataanza kujenga. Nataka kuambia ng'oo, hatuwezi kukubali watu wetu kuhangaishwa, kutolewa kama mbwa pale ambao wanapata riziki yao, pale ambao wanafanya kazi. Mimi nataka kusema hapa, nitamwambia gavana akija hapa, hii soko iwe chini ya usimamizi ya serikali ya kaunti, ili izuie wale ambao wanatema mate, wakiona kama kuna kiwanja hapa wanakuja kuchoma na wanaleta hasara kwa watu ambao wako hapa. Kwa hivyo kwanza tunasema hatutaweza kukubali mtu yeyote aingie hapa. Pili, tutafanya harakati ya kufanya marekebisho hapa ili izuiliwe kabisa. Tunataka mabati ingie hapa mara moja na mastall zijengewe mara moja. Sawa sawa? Sawa sawa? Mimi nasema nyinyi muwe na moyo. Yale ambayo mnaona hapa ni yale ambayo yanafanywa na wale majambazi, lakini sisi tuko na mpango ya kuleta mradi mkubwa hapa Kibera ya kuboresha hali ya maisha hapa, na karibuni mimi na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta tutakuja hapa kufanya hiyo mradi. Vile tulikuwa tumeshaweka kamati tayari ya kuongea na jamii ambayo wanaishi hapa ili tujue vile tutafanya hiyo mpango. Mliona tulianza huko chini, ilikuwa inaitwa slum upgrading program. Wale wanyakuzi walipokuja hapo kaingia, wakakuja wanasema sasa wanaleta sijui barabara Kibera, sijui wanajenga vio, sijui nini, ikiwa ni ile NYS number 1. Simnakumbuka? Simnakumbuka? Yule mama alikuwa anaitwa nani? Yule mwingine alikuwa anaitwa nani? Anaitwa nani?
Kabura.
Kabura, simulisikia mambo ya Kabura. Ati yeye anakwenda kwenye kwari kutoa ile mawe kuletwa hapa kujenga barabara Kibera. Na anaenda na kule pesa milioni 55 ameweka gunia. Kwa hivyo waliua ile mradi ambayo tulikuwa tumeanza vizuri sana, ambayo ingejenga masoko mazuri, ingejenga maduka hapa, ingejenga vile vile ma workshop ya watu kufanya kazi. Haya yote yalikuwa ndani ya hiyo workshop, soko na vile vile mashule na hospitali na malazi. Yote ilikuwa katika hiyo mpango. Lakini walikuja wakaingia na wakasimamisha. Tutaanzisha hiyo mradi tena ili tuweze kuboresha hali ya maisha ya wakaaji wa Kibera yote kwa jumla. Lakini wakati huu kama hili bado iko njiani, watu mpaka waendelee kupata riziki yao, watu mpaka waendelee kupata chakula. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wamechoma hii, nimwambia wanijaribu, lakini hawatafaulu. Hawatafaulu, hatutakubali wafaulu. Kwa hivyo Bwana Sonko ataingia hapa sasa hivi, na akaingia, na mimi nishampatia yeye instructions. Hii ni instructions sawa. Sawa. Kwa hivyo mimi Nataka kuona kama hii mabati imeingia hapa na kazi ya ujenzi imeanza upya. Hii moto imezimwa sasa. Maji letwe ili mieli ambayo imebaki hapa sasa zizimwe. Alafu waanze kujenga. Alafu askari wasimame hapa wakilinda wananchi. Wakijenga. Na uchunguzi vile vile fanyike. Ijulikane ni wakina nani walifanya hii njama. Na washikwe na washtakiwe. Maana yake ikiwa kama wewe uko na dai, kuna mahakama. Sio? Sio? Lakini hakuna Mkenya yeyote ambaye ana haki ya kwenda na kuchukua sheria mkononi mwake. Wakati watu wanalala, anakuja kama mchawi na moto. Alafu anaanza kuteketea na kuchoma maksudi mali ya Wakenya wengine. Hiyo hatuwezi kubali. Hiyo sio Kenya ambayo tunataka. Na wale ambao mnajua ambao wanaeneza ufisadi, si wanajulikana? Tumesema adui mkubwa ya Wakenya wote ni ufisadi. Ni ufisadi. Ufisadi ndiye maathiri uchumi wa Kenya hii. Na hata kama upige kelele namna gani, inalenga kabila hii au kabila hii, hii hawezi kusaidia wewe. Mfisadi ni mfisadi. Na tutapigana mfisadi mpaka tumalize ufisadi katika taifa letu. Na usisema wewe unalenga kwa sababu wewe ni Mjaluo, au wewe ni Mkamba, au Mkalenjin, au Mkikuyu, au Mluhya, au Mnubi, au Mkisii, au Mborana, au Mjikenda, au Mturkana, au Masai. Wewe umeiba kivyako wewe, na msalaba wako utabeba wewe mwenyewe. Usitwike msalaba yako kabila yako. Wewe unaiba kwa niaba yako peke yako, na wewe utabeba peke yako, kama vile Yesu alibeba, sio? Sivyo? Kama Yesu alijibeba, je, wewe ni nani? Wewe ni nani? Na sisi hatuwezi kutishwa. Tunaweza kutishwa? Tunaweza kutishwa? Tunaweza kutishwa? Kwa hiyo mimi tena narudisheni nyinyi shukrani sana. Wakaji wa Kibera, nyinyi mlisimama imara na sisi. Na nyinyi mkisema tunaenda, tunaenda, sio? Sivyo? Sivyo? Sisi tulisema tunataka kuleta amani Kenya hii. Kaketi chini mimi na Uhuru, nikamwambia makosa ni hii na hii na hii na hii. Ukikubali kurekebisha, mimi niko tayari. Akasema hako tayari. Na tukaandikana, si mlisoma? Simsoma ile MOU. Moja yao ni vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Kwa hivyo hii mambo ya vita ya ufisadi haikutoka hewangani. Tulitambua kama ni moja ya ile shida ambayo inakumba Kenya. Pili ni wizi ya uchaguzi. Tatu ni ukosefu wa kazi kwa vijana. Nne, ubaguzi wa ukabila. Ubaguzi wa kikabila. Tano ni ubaguzi wa kimaendeleo. Tunaelewana vizuri? Tunaelewana vizuri? Kwa hivyo haya yote tumeweka pamoja. Ndio unaona Uhuru anasimama pale, Raila anasimama hapa. Na hii lengo yake sio kumaliza chama ya Jubilee. Jubilee iko pale, Raila anavaa ile uniform ya chungwa. Sivyo? 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 Uhuru amevaa ile ya Jubilee, mimi niko ya chungwa hapa. Sawa sawa? Sasa mimi na Uhuru tunacheza hapa. Wale wengine wanacheza hapa chini. Kwa hivyo hata wakinirushia mimi mawe, Wakirusha sijui matusi, siwajibu. Hiyo ni kama ngurumo ya chura. Ngurumo ya chura inaweza kuzuia ng'ombe kunywa maji. Ng'ombe anakunywa maji tu, akimaliza anakojoa huko ndani ya hiyo maji. Kwa hivyo nataka watu wetu wasimame imara, wasimame imara. Mtasikia maneno mengi inaenezwa juu vitu dhidi ya ufisadi, ati inalenga watu fulani, inalenga kabila fulani. Haya yote ni porojo. So utasema wacha kwanza uchunguzi ifanyike, imalizike. Ikiwa kama wewe huna hatia, una wasiwasi gani? Una wasiwasi gani? Ikiwa kama wewe huna makosa, hata ukishtakiwa sikutakuwa hakuna ushahidi, una wasiwasi gani? Wacha wale ambao wamepewa jukumu ya kufanya uchunguzi wafanye uchunguzi. Wakisema ati pesa ilitolewa hapa, imeenda huko Itali, imetoka Itali ikaenda Uingereza, ikarudi hapa Nairobi, badala ya kwenda kutumika kule kwa damu, imeenda kununua matawel na matail. Hiyo ni kuna makosa. Hiyo uchunguzi kuna makosa. Kuna makosa. Haya yote yatafanyika. Na mimi nataka kuambia Wakenya kila mmoja atulie. Raila hana chuki na mtu yoyote. Raila hana vile nia ya kudhuru mtu yoyote. Mimi wote ni watoto yangu. Si mimi ni baba. Ni baba wa watoto wote. Kila mtoto anaingia. Hata yule mchachari anaingia tu. Sawa sawa? Na kila mtoto akiomba msamaha tunawasamehe. Kwa chama chetu tumeona juzi Dori alilia. Sisi tulimsamehe. Hata Aisha nilisema akikuja kile chini na analie, tutaangalia mambo yake. Siwari ni watoto yangu. Siwari ni watoto yangu. Kwa hivyo sisi kama wanachungwa tuko pamoja. Kule ambayo tulikuwa tunaelekea tutafika. Na sisi kama Wakenya wote tumekubaliana na Uhuru tujenge madaraja. Ili manake mtu Jordan iko na mamba. Tuvuke Jordan tuingie wapi? Wangapi wako tayari kuingia Kana? Nione kwa mkono. ODM TVM. ODM TVM. ODM Ria. ODM Ria. ODM Tialala. ODM Tialala. ODM Tialala. Asante sana.
Asante sana rais ya wananchi.
All right, ODM leader Raila Odinga there in Toy Market, where a fire has razed down a section of the market. He was speaking to the residents, and he alleges that the fire was caused by arson by allegedly people who intend to grab that piece of land. Those allegations by ODM leader Raila Odinga, and he has spoken a lot on a number of issues which include the state of corruption in the country. But let's take a quick break. We'll be back. Back, you're watching NTV Today. Now, the Building Bridges to Unity Advisory Task Force consultative meeting with members of the public is currently underway in Vihiga County, and Oko Kuse is attending the session and now joins us live. Oko.
Yes, Zainab, we are here in Vihiga where the consultative meeting, as you've just mentioned there, by the Building Bridges to Unity Advisory Task Force is conducting a public forum here and hearing views from members of the public. Remember, this BBI was born out of the communique, the joint communique between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. That was 1 year ago, March 9th to be precise. And they have been going around hearing from members of the public, especially regarding the 9 challenges that were identified on that communique. And here with me is the chairman of BBI, that is Senator Yusuf Haji, who is going to tell us more about this initiative. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. As you are aware, that this task force was appointed by His Excellency the President in the official gazette of 24th May 2018. And we started our work from June onward. And this is now the 22nd county that we have visited. And we intend to visit all the 47 counties to gather public opinion on the 9 issues that were given to us under that official gazette. Tomorrow we are going to go to Busia for the same thing. And then after tomorrow we shall be in Kakamega. And after that, we will sit in Nairobi for 2-3 days and prepare for another program to other counties.
Chairman, maybe you just break to our viewers out there. What are these 9 challenges?
Well, the 9 challenges, if I start enumerating them, one of them is tribal antagonism. Another one is dealing with inclusivity. Another one is dealing with corruption. Another issue is with devolution. Another issue is ethos. And so on. About 9 points. And we are dealing with all the 9 points in all the places we have gone. And we are really impressed that Kenyans are aware of what they want of this country in their future. And they are giving very valid opinion on each of the issues.
So far, what is, I know you've been attending this citizen consultative forums. What is prominent as far as you have gathered?
Well, all the 9 are prominent, and we will not take preference over any one of them, because all the 9 are very important matters that will help in the future of this country. So they are all coming out very well.
So what is next after this? What is your next mandate?
Well, our next mandate is after we have gathered views from ordinary citizens, from religious leaders, from professionals, from farmers, from pastoralists, all walk of life of people, disabled people. We will sit and make, gather all this information together and make our recommendation to the President on how we feel this matter should be dealt with.
Okay, maybe my final question. What are some of the challenges maybe you have encountered as you move around the country collecting these views?
We have not we have not faced any challenge. People are forthcoming, and people are giving their views without fear and freely. And we are very impressed that even the most ordinary person, if you ask him about corruption, he will tell you what is the best way to deal with corruption in this country. If you ask him about inclusivity, they will tell you. About divisive elections, which has taken back this country. Every 5 years, we have election, we run into problems, and our economy goes down. They know what should be done in order to avoid such calamity befalling Kenyans. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And some people are saying that we are writing a constitution. I want to make it very clear that that is not our job. We are not writing a new constitution. We are not talking anything about referendum. We will make our recommendation based on the 9 points, and it is up to the power that has appointed us to decide how to go about them. Yeah. And you asked me at the beginning that so many reports go into the shelves without being dealt with. You know, we are just like, if you now employ me in your farm, my work is to till the ground, plant the crop, weed it, harvest, and after that I bring the proceeds to you. It is up to you to decide whether you will put it in the store or you are going to sell. So that is not under our mandate. Yes. Thank you very much.
Zainab, that is the chairman of the Building Bridges Initiative, Senator Yusuf Haji. They are sharing with us what has been has transpired so far. Remember, there is a Building Bridges Advisory Task Force that has been moving around the country collecting views from Kenyans and memoranda regarding the joint communique that was signed between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the opposition leader Raila Odinga. That was on March 9th, 2018. So far, they have done 22 counties. There are 25 more left, and the senator there exuding confidence that they have so far gathered what they are impressed, actually saying that he is impressed with the turnout of members of the public in these consultative forums, and therefore they expect to come up with a report that will satisfy the 9 points that are captured or they are out to address during these consultative forums. Back to you, Zainab.
All right, thank you so much, Okukusa, there from Vihiga County. Remember, our discussion in studio is all about gender-based violence, and I'm with Dr. Eunice Githai, a psychologist, and Miriam Washira, the Deputy Executive Director, FIDA Kenya. And the conversation, you know, there's an issue that kept coming up was women empowerment, even when Bernardo Juang was speaking to the panel in Migori County. Now, there's this opinion, or I might say, you know, a sentiment that people are saying women are over-empowered in Kenya today. And so this is then causing agitation to the other gender, causing, you know, leading to a sense of, you know, an increased violence against women. So I'd like to know, first of all, you know, Miriam, are women over-empowered in Kenya? And is this what is causing the agitation towards women?
No, not at all. Women are not over-empowered. We still have a very long way to go. That is just an excuse to propagate the violence against women. We still have a very low level. When you look at women, women are still below men in so many things. When you look at our wages, women are still earning less. When you look at care jobs where the mother is at home, their job is not being recognized. When you look at land, for instance, only 6% of land in Kenya is owned by a woman. So we're still very far. So this is just a narration to cover up all these vices of violence against women. So it's being used to cover up and as an excuse why we should propagate the violence against women. I think there's no excuse. If you meet a woman who is empowered, could you also change your attitude then? Could it be that it's your ego? Could it be that it's your inferiority complex that now it's coming into place? It has nothing to do with the woman. It has to do with you. Could you now take control of your own life without having to resort to violence? Yes.
Dr. Eunice, so do you also are of the same opinion that there's no correlation between the two?
I do appreciate a lot on the women empowerment. They have done a great job. I would not have liked to live the way my mother lived or my grandmother. It really was kind of very demeaning setup, you know. What I would say about women empowerment is that this whole thing, I think the approach should have been to negotiate for the violence. It should have been to kind of negotiate, you know. It doesn't take women alone. It takes both men and women. If you empower one group and leave out another group, then, or not even mention them, just be silent about them, the one you're trying to empower will not get empowered, really.
Right.
Because you be silent on one side, and this man will eventually, because you have threatened his position, he will not do anything. You know, he will go to the Changaden in the evening, and what you've been working all day for, he'll come and twist your arm, and you'll give it. So is that an empowered woman? So you would want to negotiate for the space where there's power balance, you know, not anybody on top of the other. A kind of renegotiation where the men let the women in, where women let men in, where it's not about you hit us for so long, it's our time to hit you back. It's not where, okay, we want to see how far you are empowered, then go on, let's see. You know, it's like, it's still creating more struggle between the two genders, with the woman feeling, you won't tag me behind, and the man saying, let's see how far you go. I think there needed to be a table, coming to the table kind of thing, you know, where the woman is empowered, but she has got the support of the man, where we empower the woman and then help the man to deal with an empowered woman, a more assertive woman, a woman who will go to work, a woman who has got a bigger salary. There really is need for a lot of negotiation between the two.
All right.
And we also don't look at it in terms of at the curative level. When we are empowering the girl child down there, let's also empower the boy child to deal with this assertive girl who can tell him, hey, no, and I can also do academically better than yourself. So I think we need to go back to the renegotiation table where we balance power really quite a bit.
All right.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to the policy making and where we lag behind in terms of that. We also have Lois Wangoi, who is in our Eldred studios, also having the conversation on gender-based violence with her panel in studio. Lois?
Many thanks, Zainab. We pick the conversation and want to start with how to deal with domestic violence. Granted that with your panel in Nairobi, you've been able to look at the causes and emerging trends on domestic violence. A very quick one just to introduce my guest in studio. Seated next to me is Mr. Joseph Mogo. He is a psychologist. Next to him is Immaculate Chepkonga, a counseling psychologist, and Miss Lily Okeo, a mental health advocate. Many thanks. And thank you for your patience this morning. So we go straight into dealing with domestic violence. There are a number of avenues where, especially in African traditional setup, where largely our country falls, there are ways of dealing with domestic violence. I want us to start on the religious provisions that many a times people who are suffering domestic violence opt for. Have they created the platform and the arena to adequately address the issue of domestic violence? We start with you, Ms. Lily Okeo.
In my opinion, I believe that some churches have done that. They've trained professional counselors within the church to address emerging domestic violence issues. But more often than not, we find that people go to pastors to solve their problems.
Correct.
And then they're told, you know what, you need to stick it till death do us part. And you're told that you need to pray and fast about it. God is going to make a difference. And we're waiting on divine intervention to come up and solve our issues, especially for victims of domestic violence. And also you will find that some pastors who claim to be counselors are not actually trained as professional counselors or anybody who can actually help you with your mental health issues. And it's looked at from a one-sided point of view, from a religious point of view. But this needs to be looked at from the mental health side of an individual, from the physical side, the social life of this person. It has to be a holistic approach in terms of intervention. Yeah.
Okay. And Madam Chepkonga, the society in general, say a friend will talk to a friend, a family member will talk to another family member, a colleague will talk to me, or I will talk to a colleague. Are we also adequately empowered, and do we even know what to do with such type of info? In many cases, sorry to say, the most society will do is gossip about it. Are we adequately prepared to know how to handle domestic violence at our levels?
At our levels, I could say that it is 50-50. Because
Sorry?
it is 50-50. You find that there are professionals who are good at handling that, but when you take it out to your friends, they end up spoiling out. They end up telling the other people, and then it becomes a big thing. In Africa or in Kenya, we fear stigma. The moment you are termed that, you know, this lady is the one who separated from the husband, or this lady is the one who was involved in violence, that one puts a stigma on us, and we fear speaking it out to the rest of the people. Yes.
I mean, it's important to share with. What about the law, Mr. Joseph Mugo? Yes, there are provisions. For instance, if a couple wants to separate or even to divorce, there are measures that have been put in place. But how practical are they in addressing domestic violence?
I think it's quite technical. The process is also quite long. And the thought of going through the process and how the society perceives the whole legal justice system is again also a hindrance to people being able to speak out, people being able to reach out and use the law and the legal justice system as a way of dealing with cases of SGBV. So I think as much as there's the provision, the long, lengthy process, due process of getting justice and getting to deal with these cases is quite a limiting factor. And again, the thoughts and the perception that the society holds regards the whole legal justice system is also a limiting factor for people to be able to embrace it as an avenue to actually deal with cases of SGBV. Yes.
Okay, and I want to imagine at individual level, we have this conversation of just looking for tools and ways of making sure different people are empowered against domestic violence. Among them is education. Ms. Lily Okio, do you think it is working to ensure that domestic violence goes on a law?
It's good that we have a law about this issue, like the Protection Against Gender-Based Violence Act of 2015. It goes a long way in helping victims who have come out to speak about their issues, to seek help. It has its functions. But on the other end, with education and a lot of information, some people who are well educated and who feel like they're the cream of the society, experience gender-based violence and experience domestic violence, but they cannot come out to speak because of image issues, and also the fact that our society has become very individualistic. Despite the Nyumba Kumi initiative, we don't know who our neighbor is, and we're so privatized to the extent that even if I know you're going through something in your home, I will not speak up about it. Despite the fact that I have the information, I know where I could ask you to go. I know I could reach out. Education in itself is not an efficient tool. It has to be combined with other tools in order to curb this issue. Yeah.
Okay. And what are the trends, Madam Chepkonga, where you work, you're able to counsel and interact with victims of domestic violence? Does it mean that those who are more educated tend to know how to deal with it? Or does domestic violence just cut across whether you're very well educated or it's Mama Mboga back in the village? What are your observations from where you work?
From where I work, my observations are the Mama Mboga from the village, they actually know their rights. They come for counseling. But those who are educated, they'll rather keep it up to themselves and not come up. In that, they fear that this person whom I'm going to report to, or who I'm going to help, to seek help, they might be knowing me. One, I am somebody who is known in the society. So what will the perception be? Yeah. So it is the Mama Mboga and those who are the middle-aged. The middle-aged class will come, but the very high, the very knowledgeable, no.
They will suffer in silence.
They will suffer in silence.
Is that your experience, Joseph?
Well, I think socialization affects how we express ourselves, and the people we engage and interact with, in most cases, influence how we make our decisions, how we seek for help, and how we seek for assistance. A case of Mama Mboga, the kind of people they engage and interact with are definitely people who will push them to seek support, to seek assistance, and basically their capacity to be able to assist them is definitely limited. On the other end, there's these high-end learned professionals who will definitely hang out with their friends, share about that, laugh about it, and then they're back to the same different concerns override. And again, the schedules, their workload and what they do also limits them to seek professional assistance. Also the thought of what will people think of me when they see me going for counseling sessions. People look up to me, people celebrate me, people emulate me and look up to me, and they're proud of me. So I think the thought of also what the society will look and say about them also limits them to actually seek professional assistance and support regards the same.
Okay.
Yes.
So really people suffer in silence, and I'll only speak out after I lose my limb or I break my eye.
Yeah. That is, you realize that for somebody to eventually come out, we're naturally built with either fight or flight instincts. When you can persevere, when your tolerance is still on the lower side, you can persevere abuse for a long time, until when you now realize it's do or die. You know, that is when now you'll find either somebody has killed the spouse, somebody has ended up committing suicide, or somebody has moved out now finally. But you will find people will suffer in silence because, as my colleagues are saying, of image issues, of socialization issues, and also of the fact that they're just afraid to look at mental health as an option and as a problem that is now affecting our country, because all these issues are a build-up of many other smaller issues. For somebody to see somebody actually ending up to beat you, to give you a slap, there's a certain process that has already gone on in their mind. It is not that is the expression of what they have decided to do at the end of the day. So it is a process. We wait and see. They suffer in silence. They don't speak about it, and we also, who are out here, don't even care to show them or to point out some of the issues. And in life, sometimes, until somebody actually comes and tells you, oh, you're limping. Sometimes if your nerves are not feeling the limp, you may not even notice that you have an injury until somebody points it out. Same issue with mental health issues. Sometimes we are not aware of what we're going through, and we choose to go through it in silence because we feel disempowered, because most perpetrators actually work like that. They disempower you gradually, and then eventually now put you in a place where you feel you cannot get yourself out of such a situation, and hence the results that we're seeing all over the country and across the globe. We're seeing murders, we're seeing suicide, we're seeing people being cut off limbs and now living without parts of their bodies, which is a very sad case.
And like you say, these actions are actually a culmination of a lot going on in one's emotional state and in their mindset. Talk to us about the types of domestic abuse, because many will just look at the physical bit of it, that when your partner or a spouse, be it a man or a woman, hurts you, then you will start thinking, oh, I'm suffering domestic violence. But after you start going through all these sessions with doctors, even after they recommend counseling, then you realize you've actually been suffering many types of abuses, and for the longest time.
Yes. I think the type of abuses stream from psychological abuse, from physical abuse, emotional, and even economic and financial abuse. Well, from individual to individual, it varies, and how people look at them also varies. Someone might actually go through psychological abuse, emotional abuse, but with the preempt of, well, this is what I signed for, and they actually embrace it. So from the psychological to the economical to the physical to the emotional, it streams from different individuals, and people embrace it differently and go through it differently. Yes.
And Madam Chipkonga, are Kenyans aware of these types of abuses, or many times when they come seeking services at the county where you work, it will be physical abuse? Are they also aware? Are they also equipped to understand there is economic and financial abuse, there is emotional and psychological abuse?
Most of the people come there for, most of them are physical abuse. But when you get deep inside them, trying to get to know the root cause, you may find that it is either psychological abuse, you find that it is either economical abuse, and they've been hiding it. They don't even know, they don't even own up to it. Or some come to a hospital and they say, I have a headache. They go to the lab, they are tested for malaria, it turns out negative. They are tested for so many other things, it turns out negative. And then they're told, you know what, you can seek psychological help. They come there, they're like, me, psychological help? No, I'm fine, I'm fine. But when you dig deep, you get to know that this person has been abused emotionally. This person has been abused psychologically, or this person has been abused financially.
And when you pick it with them, are they surprised that they've been going through all that?
Yes,
How do they behave?
They're actually surprised, and they say, oh, so you know what I'm going through. Because you're able to pick. Now you're suffering from this. And you say that you are not coming, you don't want psychological help or something. But during the process, during the sessions, you get to know that this person actually has gone through that, and they really thank you for that. They say, thank you for enlightening me. Thank you for making me aware that I'm going through this and through that.
And you deal with men and women, I want to imagine?
Yes, both of them. Both of them, but mostly it is women, because we have really empowered the women
against domestic violence.
And the boy child is left outside there. They cannot even come out. When they want to come out, there's this myth that they say, why do you go and seek for help, yet you're strong enough to face your problems?
Is it true? Men, are you speaking out?
Yes, genuinely I think men are also victims of gender-based violence, especially on elements of psychological and emotional abuse. But I think unfortunately most of them are not really conscious that they actually go through that. And they embrace it with the perceptive and the perception, mwanaume ni kujikaza, mwanaume ni kukaa ngumu, and they actually fail to speak about it. And when they do speak about it, they speak it on the wrong avenues, because they'll speak to fellow men when they're watching a game, playing golf, playing football or something, and these men again will definitely stigmatize them and definitely speak to them and look at them from a whole different angle of kwadharau and not really embrace them and support them throughout the whole process. So men eventually don't speak about it, and when they speak about it, then they speak to the wrong, and also they speak it to the wrong avenues where they're not empowered and they don't get any support whatsoever.
Is it true, Miss Lily, there's a lot of stigma around men when it comes to domestic violence?
Yes, there is. Just the other day I was doing a forum at University of Eldoret, and most of the students, the male students, actually said they go through these things in silence. You've heard of a case where a university student ended up stabbing the other, and then there was the other one who was swallowing pills while taking a video of herself doing the same. And you will find people tend to respond easily and accept women easily who come out to speak more than men, because we've raised a society where it's okay for a woman to speak up because we're the weaker gender, weaker in quotes, but a man cannot be allowed to be weak. Weak in the sense that you cannot cry, you cannot express sadness, you cannot express defeat, you cannot express abuse. And you find women to a certain degree, women are major emotional abusers of. They drain them emotionally. That's what drives men into alcoholism. That's what drives men into depression. That's what drives men into drugs and substance abuse, and even to other women, even cheating, which also cheating now becomes a cycle of several abuses affecting both now the woman and the man. And eventually it boils down to who's stronger, who's going to beat who at this. And for the boys and the men, we rarely have avenues that help them to become mentally strong. And when I say mentally strong, it is the ability to make a decision and a choice without caring what the other person thinks about. And in that sense, I'm not saying to disregard the other person's rights and emotions. No, I'm talking about if I go tell my friend that I've been slapped and I'm a man, then I'll be told how. So when you go and slap him back, slap her back, you know, show her you're the man in the home, because we are raised in a patriarchal society. the fact that it is a patriarchal society puts a lot of pressure on the man to be a man as per the prescriptions of society, which is not right as well. So also it's more women who come for therapy when we do these awareness campaigns on mental health issues and GBV. It's more women who will attend more than men. So when they go out there, they're not empowered. They suffer in silence as well, just like the upper class citizens. Men also suffer in silence and are also victims of gender-based violence, because we also don't have enough data and statistics of men who are going through abuse.
But even as women tend to speak more and express themselves more when it comes to domestic violence, Madam Chepkonga, when you were speaking earlier just before you went on air, you told me an interesting perspective that many times they will blame society because they will tell you, I had reached out to my mom, I had reached out to my pastor, I had reached out to a friend, but many of them just told me to change my ways, to correct my ways.
You know what happens is that we don't listen to the warning signs. Many a times you're beaten, you're maybe slapped, or you're maybe pinched, you're like, I'll sort that issue out. It goes ahead, it builds up, it builds up. You go to your friend, you try to talk to your friend, your friend tells you, you know what, keep cool, everything will be okay. And then your friend happens to tell the other, and the circle goes round and round. And then you come and here, you're like, oh my God, it's best I keep quiet, it's best I keep it to myself. And when you keep it to yourself, the other party is really building up, is really advancing, By the time you're trying to
reach out, it's a bit too late.
It's a bit too late.
Okay. All right, so. And even as we wind up, just speak for the men. Do they also tend to reach out when it's a bit too late, like most women tend to do?
Yes, or at times they actually reach out at an early stage, but reach out to the wrong people. I think the stereotypes, the stigmatization really makes them not really open up, speak up about it. And again, the fear of the unknown, and again also how the society perceives institutions and avenues where they can get assistance. So eventually they don't really end up seeking assistance at a very early stage. And until they're quite drained, until they are well drained off with stress, depression, and they are almost getting suicidal, that's when you'll see them seek assistance. That's when you'll see them in hospital beds, sick with not really specific ailment, but going through depression, and then all of a sudden they decide to speak up about what they've actually been going through.
Many thanks. Mr. Mogo, Madam Chepkonga, and Miss Lily on my panel this morning. Just going through this particular discussion of domestic violence and noting that the trends in both men and women over the years are seemingly the same. Many of them just reach out when it's a little bit too late. The challenge they pose is to the society in general to ensure they equip themselves to or against domestic violence. For now, back to you in Nairobi, Zainab.
All right, thank you so much, my colleague Lois Wangui there from Eldred, and just having a comprehensive conversation on what we're discussing here in studio in Nairobi. And, you know, we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to gender-based violence. But of course, because of time constraints, I'll take your last comments and briefly just give us an idea, Miriam Washira. Do we need to review a criminal justice system when it comes to gender-based violence? Where are we at in the country at this point, and where are we heading, and how long will that take probably?
We actually don't have much to review. We have very good laws as a country against violence, whichever kind of violence you think about, not just gender. And even now for gender, when it comes even to domestic violence, we now have a specific act for that. What we are lacking as a country is the implementation of the laws and the awareness of the laws. Just the society, the common mwananchi knowing what law protect them. When they report to the police, why the policeman should not tell them, ini mambo ya nyumbani, go sort it out in your house. Because now there's a law, there's a domestic prevention against domestic violence law. So it's for the society to know how to use the law enforcers knowing how to use the law, and the whole system implementing the law.
All right. Thank you, Miriam. And Dr. Eunice, with your background as a psychologist, what advice would you give those people who've gone through domestic violence, and those who are going through it right now? What advice would you give them, and what way forward for us as a country?
I would say that there's hope. We have come a long way, And for the silent people, we want them to discover their voice and speak it out. Speak to your neighbor, speak to your brother, speak to your sister. Look for someone in the hospital. Just talk to anyone, a social worker. Be open to counselors, because I think a lot of this also takes the person's initiative to look for help, because they're the ones who know their pain, they know where they're suffering, and we are out here saying, yeah, we can help. Again, we want to ask everybody to work, you know, it needs a systemic kind of approach. Let everybody come in and assist. But actually, it is a war that can be negotiated. It's a war that can be won.
All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Eunice Githai, psychologist, and Miriam Washira, the Deputy Executive Director, FIDA Kenya. A conversation on gender-based violence in the country. Where are we at and where are we heading? Well, this is where we end our program on NTV today. Remember, NTV Sasa is coming right up your way with Daniel Mule and Kaltun Jama with a lot of stories making headlines across the country. We have our reporters on the ground to give us updates, including that fire that has just razed down a section of Toy Market in Kibera within Nairobi. We'll be having that update as well as from the Supreme Court with Seth Olale on what is happening there. Let's take a break. We'll be back with Daniel Mule and Kaltun Jama. My name is Zainab Ismail. Good morning.